Hello, today I am going to demonstrate how to make beef kebabs for our cuisine chef class. This is one of my favorite recipes. I use this a lot at home. It is very, very tasty. And what's nice about this is you can do it in the oven or you can do it at the grill, on a grill if you were at home. So we're going to start with our recipe. Now you see on this recipe, it is having you reduce the recipe. The original recipe calls for 24 servings and we only need to yield 6. So by doing your new divided by old, which you learned in the costing unit, our conversion factor is 0.25. So we are going to multiply all of the, we are going to multiply this column, the old yield, by 0.25 to get the new yield so that you know what amounts to use for your recipe. So I will go over those new amounts as I'm going through the recipe and you can check your math. All right? The first thing it says we need to do is cut the vegetables and meat as directed. So, as you know from cross-contamination, if I cut the meat first, I must completely sanitize this cutting board before I cut the vegetables. So to just save myself a trip to the sanitizer, I'm going to cut the vegetables first. Alright, the first vegetable listed is green pepper, and it called for 4 green peppers, so 0.25 times 4 is 1, so we need the entire green pepper. Now, all of our vegetables, I'm going to go rinse them off real quick in the sink so that we know they're washed. These still had stickers on them, so I know they haven't been rinsed yet. So I'm going to go do that real quick and I'll be right back. And I have rinsed all of the vegetables. The cherry tomatoes, the peppers have been rinsed, and the mushrooms. And I want to explain with the mushrooms. The mushrooms appear fairly clean when you buy them. However, mushrooms are grown in manure. And you can see that there's some of that in the bottom of this container. So you definitely need to rinse mushrooms because you should rinse anything because they're grown in dirt. But these are grown in manure. Alright? So the nice thing about the mushrooms is there's no prep. We just leave them whole. So those are all ready to go for our shish kebabs. And same with the cherry tomatoes. We don't have any prep for the cherry tomatoes. Those stay whole. So I'm going to just move them over here. And these are what need to be cut. Now different people have different ways of cutting green pepper, so I'm just going to show you a couple different ways. Some people just push the center in and pull it out. And then I will use, this is my garbage bowl. We really want you in the habit of using a garbage bowl for all of your scraps, otherwise there's food everywhere with 12 groups cooking in class. So you can just shake all those seeds out. And though our recipe says to cut these in 1-inch squares, so I'm making 1-inch slices. You can see they're very wide. And then you can just go through this and make them 1 inch. Okay. And I'm just going to toss those in the bowl with our cherry tomatoes. You can use different colored peppers. We have red and green here. You could also do orange peppers, yellow peppers. It makes it very, very attractive. Now this last piece is not going to be perfect squares because it's the end of the pepper, but we will go ahead and cut those up. Okay. Now another way that people get the center out is they will make a cut pretty close to that end. Okay. So here, you can just take this and pull it right out. And then this piece, again, you can just push it right through. Alright? So either way works, whatever you're more comfortable with. And again. And this is a chance to work on your knife skills, holding the knife properly. Using your claw. Whoops, and this, I'm just going to do it this way. Those are done. Alright, these are all done. Now, we need to cut onion. So, again, this onion, if we look here, it called for 4 onions, so times 0.25 means we need the entire onion. Now, this onion, I'm going to, think about this for a second, I'm going to cut it. Alright. Now I'm going to peel the skin and put that in the garbage bowl. You kind of want to make wedges of onions. You don't want tiny little pieces because they won't go on the skewer. So I'm peeling off this layer that's kind of dry. I'm going to cut off this end here. And then I'm simply going to cut it into big wedges. And so then you will put this piece onto the skewer just like this. So I'm going to leave this laying right here on the table. Actually this has to go in the marinade. And I didn't think this through very well because the tomatoes don't go in the marinade. So I'm going to separate my peppers out. And again, there's no problem with this because none of these flavors merge. They don't mix together at all. There we go. The tomatoes are the only thing that does not go in the marinade. So these are all my veggies that get marinated. And again, the mushrooms are not a vegetable, they're a fungus. The onion does go in the marinade, so I'm going to carefully pick that up and lay it in here. Okay? And I'll do the same thing with this half. And again, everything in the garbage bowl so your cutting area stays very clean. Put that right in there. Okay. Now the meat is next. Alright. If you look at this, it calls for 3 pounds of meat. That's obviously way too much for us. So you multiply that by 0.25, which is your conversion factor, and you get 3/4 of a pound of meat. So that's 0.75. So that's exactly what this piece of meat is. And you are looking for flank steak, which is very common. You can get it at any grocery store. Okay? So what we need to do with this is cut it into cubes. Alright? So again, if you happen to cut your meat first in lab, which is okay, you must sanitize your cutting board and run it through the sanitizer before you cut your vegetables to prevent cross-contamination. Okay? So I'm going to make nice cubes. Remember, this is going on a skewer. If you make them super tiny, they'll probably burn by the time your vegetables cook. If you make them too big, they'll be rare by the time your vegetables cook. Cut this one. All right, and if you see some that are just a little, oops, see, this is, the nice thing about flank steak is it will start to fall apart. Okay, so I'm going to put this in the bowl because this is also going to soak in our marinade. All right, now for class, you will have all of this in a Ziploc bag. All right, the next stage we need to do is we need to make the marinade. I'm going to go wash my hands and sanitize the board so that there's no cross-contamination. Okay, I'm back. I have sanitized the cutting board, washed my hands, and sanitized the knife so there's no chance of cross-contamination from the raw meat. So the next thing we need to do is make the marinade. I have already mixed most of the ingredients for you. The olive oil, we needed 8 ounces in the original recipe, so we need 2 ounces in the recipe for class. And same with lemon juice, 2 ounces. And then for the chives, the original recipe called for 6 tablespoons, so we need 1 tablespoon plus 1.5 teaspoons. Now some of you may have never worked with chives. It really looks like grass, you know, really long grass. So if I just pull a couple out here, you can see this is what they look like. All right, and this adds a lot of flavor. So the way you prepare these is you mince them, or you just chop them really small. And again, you never want to chop vegetables after meat, so that's why we sanitized. So this is Cuisine Chef, and we try to do all of our cooking by sight and by taste. So if I kind of look at this, to me that looks like about a tablespoon, so I'm going to get just a little more because we needed a little bit over a tablespoon. Over here. And in Cuisine Chef, we want to encourage you to kind of start working by taste and by sight rather than always relying on your measuring utensils. This is savory cooking, where Pastry Chef is very precise. That's all baking. Okay, so I'm going to put this into our marinade. Okay. Then also in the marinade, we need Worcestershire sauce, and we need 1 tablespoon of that, and that's already in here. Dijon mustard, and that's just a flavorful mustard. In this, the original recipe called for 4 teaspoons, so we needed 1 teaspoon. That's already in here. And then salt and pepper, we needed a ½ teaspoon of each. So all of those are in here. So what you're going to do, and again, you would be doing this in a Ziploc bag, is you're going to pour this over all your vegetables. And they will be in the Ziploc bag, so you'll kind of mix them up a little bit. And then those are going to soak overnight and marinate. All right? So they'll get that flavor all over them. It'll be absolutely wonderful. So once you get it in the Ziploc bag and it's all labeled, that will go in the refrigerator where your teacher has specified. Now the last thing you need to do today is you need to start soaking your skewers. These are skewers. These are what you're going to cook your shish kebab on. And the reason you need to soak these in water is because if these go in the oven or on the grill dry, they will catch on fire and disintegrate, and then your food falls through the grate, on a grill. But if you soak them in water, by the time all the water has cooked off the skewers, your food is done. And so then you can still lay this on the plate, maybe with some white rice and a very nice presentation. Okay? So you can also buy metal skewers if you're going to do that a lot at home, but you can just get these at the grocery store, all right, in different sizes as well. All right, so we will be back tomorrow to cook our... We are back to day 2 of the Kabobs lab, the steak kebabs. Now what you're going to do is you're going to get a sheet pan and line it with parchment paper, and you're going to make sure the oven is preheated to broil. Now broil is a very hot temperature, so I have turned the oven up to 450. All right? Now I've already skewered some of the food for you just for the sake of time, but the way you do this is you can make a pattern or you can do it however you want to do it. You just want to make sure to get all of the food on there. So I'm just going to start with a tomato, and it can go right through the center, and take it pretty close down to the bottom so that you can fill the skewer. And then I'm going to get a couple pieces of onion here, and just put them on here. Now you want to push these pretty close together, otherwise the food just all shrivels up and it looks like there's nothing on the skewer. And I'll grab a piece of meat, and all of this has been marinating all night. So there's a red pepper, and a green pepper, and a mushroom. So that's one of everything. So now I'm just going to start over and go to my tomato, onion, try to get 2 pieces of onion here. There we go. Red pepper, green, and a shroom. Okay? And I could actually push these down a little closer so there's some room on the end. All right, and then you'll put these on your sheet pan, and when they're all done, you'll put them in the oven, and they are going to bake for about broil for 7 to 8 minutes. You'll want to watch them. You might need to turn them over halfway, so just kind of come and check them at the 3.5 to 4 minute mark, and I will see you when these are done. We're back, and our shish kebabs are done. What they did is at about 4.5 minutes, they had not cooked enough, so at about 8 minutes, I flipped them over and cooked them for about another 8. So these are nice. You can serve these with rice, or a lot of people will make a salad and put this in their salad. Or you could just eat it as is. In class, you will just make the shish kebabs. We do not have time to make rice with it. Enjoy!